This video is for Integrated 3 Graphing Cosine Worksheet number 1. This is the classwork for the graphing cosine, the first graphing cosine worksheet that we did. So on this, our amplitude is going to be 1. Our vertical shift, none. Our period is 2 pi. And our phase shift is none. And just a reminder, when we're dealing with cosine on the unit circle, that is going to be our x coordinates. So as we're going around the unit circle, our cosine again is our x. So we're looking at our x coordinates. So here, my x is 1. Here, my x is 0. Here, my x is -1. Here, my x is 0. And then back again to here is 1. So 1 at 0, it's 0 at pi halves, -1 at pi, 0 at 3 pi halves, and back to 1 at 2 pi. So I'm going to be graphing 1, 0, -1, 0, 1. So for this, you start at 1, end at 1. I think of it as you're either going to start at the highs or the lows if it's a negative cosine. Your sine, you start at your zeros, okay? But your cosines, you're going to start at your highs or your lows, depending if it's positive or negative. So when I'm graphing this, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And I'm going to be going up 1, down 1. And so my vertical shift, since there's no vertical shift, my vertical shift is going to be on the x-axis. That's where my zeros are going to be. They're actually going to be at 0. And then my highs are going to be at 1. And my lows are going to be at -1. Then when I'm graphing this, I am going to be starting at 1, ending at 1. Okay. And then halfway in between these, which is here, I'm going to be at my -1. And then halfway in between these, I'm at 0. And then halfway in between these, I'm at 0. And then I'm going to connect. Now, remember, this is part of a sine and cosine are really the same graph, just we're shifting it. So when I'm doing this, remember, it's like I'm doing the sine graph. Okay, so it is a curve. On number 2, my amplitude for this is 1. My vertical shift is up 2. My period is 2 pi. And my phase shift is none. So I am going to be shifting this up 2. So let me drop this down a bit. I'm going to go up 1, 2. Okay. That is where my vertical shift is. That's my vertical shift right there. That's where my zeros are going to be. And then my amplitude is 1. So I'm going to go 1 above that, which is 3, and 1 below, which is 1. And that's going to be where my highs and my lows are going to be. So regular cosine, I forgot to label my x-axis, sorry. So nothing, this is normal. So I'm going to have my first mark on my y-axis, then my second, third, fourth, fifth, and that's going to go to 2 pi. So I'm going to be starting at my high, which is going to be 3, and ending at 3. Okay, so start at 3, my end is at 3. Halfway in between, I'm at my low, which is 1. And then in between those, I'm going to be at 0. And then in between these, I'm going to be at 0. And there's my graph. On number 3, my amplitude is going to be the absolute value of -1, which is 1. My vertical shift is going to be up 2. My period is going to be 2 pi. And my phase shift is none. So I am going to be starting up at 2. Okay, that's my vertical shift. That's where my zeros will be. And then I'm going to go 1 above, which is 3, and 1 below, which is 1. And let me just scale my X. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. When I'm counting 1, I was starting here. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, because this is not shifted. So I do start on the Y axis. Okay, so now when I'm plotting these, well, here, let me draw my highs and lows. So my highs are going to be at 3. My lows are going to be at 1. Now, in this case, there was a negative in front. So that means instead of starting at the high, I'm going to start at the low. So I'm going to start at my low, end at my low. Okay. And then here is going to be my high, because that was halfway in between. And then in between these will be my 0. And in between these will be my 0. On number 4, my amplitude is 2, because the absolute value of 2 is 2. My vertical shift is up 3. My period for this is still 2 pi, and I still have no phase shift at all. So in this case, I need to start up at 3. 1, 2, 3. That is my vertical shift. Then I'm going 2 above and 2 below. So when I go 2 below, I'm going to be at 1. When I go 2 above, I'm going to be at 5. Now for this one, we are not having any shift in terms of phase shift. So I'm going to be starting counting 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and that's going to be 2 pi. Now my highs in this case will be my 5. My lows are going to be at my 1, because that's 2 above and below. So positive. So I'm going to start at my high, okay, and end at my high. And then halfway in between is going to be my low. And then in between here is a 0 and 0. And for number 5, my amplitude is the absolute value of -4, which is 4. My vertical shift is down 3. My period is 2 pi. And my phase shift is none. So let's see, I need to drop down 1, 2, 3. Okay, that's my vertical shift is right here at -3. Then I am going to be going, because my amplitude 4 above, so 1, 2, 3, 4, so it's going to be up at 1, and I'm going to be going 4 below, so 1, 2, 3, 4, so that's going to put me at -7. So my high in this case is going to be all the way up here at 1, and low is going to be down here at -7. This is still just going from 0 to 2 pi. And for this, it's negative, so I'm going to be starting at my low. And I'm going to be ending at my low. And then halfway between these will be my high. And then halfway between here is my 0, and then my 0. And there's your graph. And that's the end of this video.